Ladies and gentlemen, this is the new Maruti Suzuki Alto K10, a car that India has loved over the years and is now available in a new avatar. It of course gets a new design, it gets new features and a lot more. Now, how is the car to drive? How is it different from the earlier version? And what kind of value does it give you for your money? That's exactly what we'll find out over the next few minutes.
Now, speaking of the design, well, you can see the Alto K10 looks very different from the earlier model, and right here is where you will find the biggest change, this grille. You can see the single piece grille, which is really wide and accentuates the width of the car, and now it is flanked by these swept back headlamps. And as a result of all these changes and the new bumper, you get a car which is small but looks a lot larger and premium to look at. When you move to the side, there's not much that has changed, and you get these 13-inch wheels here with the wheel caps, and at the back you got these nice looking squared tail lamps, and you also get an integrated spoiler. All of this added together gives you a small car that is cute, smart and impressive to look at.
Talking about the cabin, well, this is where you'll find a lot of change has taken place, and for good. Now step inside the cabin of the new Alto K10 and what you'll realize that the cabin has just become a lot more premium and modern considering the segment standards. You get a decent looking plastic dashboard, I would say. Now keep in mind that this is a car that operates in a very budget conscious segment, so from that perspective I think the plastic quality is decent. The nice addition here and the star of the dashboard is this 7-inch Smart Play touchscreen infotainment system. Of course, it's similar to what we have seen or what we see on other Maruti Suzuki cars. It comes with Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and when you talk about the overall operation, well, it is very easy to use. The touch response is good. The user interface is very simple and easy to use, and as a result of that, this adds a lot of functionality to the overall cabin. Even the instrument cluster is now a new one. It's a digital unit and it has been designed pretty nicely. So you get a large speedometer and everything else is reflected in a small digital TFT screen. The layout is nice. You can easily get all the information on the go without having to take your eyes off the road. The steering wheel now gets these controls, this mounted controls for your audio system and Bluetooth telephone. And beyond that, if I talk about these seats, again, these seats have nice amount of cushioning, and the support is also good. This single frame seat, well, this is something that I'm not a very big fan of, but of course for a segment that is so cost conscious, this makes a lot of budget sense. So that's the reason why you find these seats in here. You also get the power windows for the front here, and I find this placement to be very kind of odd and silly, but again, this has cost benefits, or so I'm told. So again, you have them here, and the overall space and the practicality is nice inside the cabin. You've got good storage space here in the lower part of the dashboard. The door pockets at the front also have decent amount of space. So from an overall usability perspective, the cabin of the Alto K10 has just gotten so much more better with a nice infotainment system, a new digital instrument cluster, and improved practicality and nice comfort and space. And now let's talk about the rear seat of the Alto K10. Now with the driving seat adjusted to my preference, and you can see I've got a lot of knee room to spare. So even if you're taller than me, I'm 5 feet 8 inches for reference, so if you're taller, you'll still have some knee room to spare. You can easily slide your feet under the driver's seat, and having these single frame, slim frame seats means that you have added knee room here. In terms of headroom also, I would say again the Alto K10 has been good, and again nothing changes. You get a decent amount of headroom, and the seat itself, well, the bench is pretty decent. Keep in mind, again, I'm repeating, this is a very cost conscious segment, so from the pricing perspective, it's got good cushioning, it's got a nice backrest. The under thigh support is at best I would say just about okay. It's not really great, so if you plan to be here for a long time, if you're going out for long drives, well, I don't think this is the seat that will keep you very happy. But then again, from the utilitarian perspective, it does the job. It has enough space for 4 adults. 4 adults can sit comfortably and with enough space, and that's precisely what the Alto K10 is out there to address, and it does that in a pretty decent manner. Now, for anyone buying the Alto K10, well, boot space is going to be a very important factor. You would use the car for a complete family, and from that perspective, you can see right now we have all our luggage plonked into the boot. Now, the K10 boot can easily swallow a medium-sized bag, which we have right here. Again, a night travel bag, and you still have space for some small bags or maybe some small packages. So from a family perspective, yes, you can get in a decent amount of luggage. So now when you put into the mix the complete package, when you look at the space inside, the new features, the boot space, what you get with the Alto K10 is a car that has improved a lot in terms of being a family car at a very competitive price. Alright, now let's talk about the performance of the new Alto K10. But before we go ahead and do that, let me just go back a bit to the cabin. And we talked about all the new features and everything. Yeah, it's all great, but there's one opportunity area that Maruti Suzuki probably missed, and that's the rear power windows. No car in this segment has it right now, and this is something that Maruti Suzuki could have done with the new Alto K10, but they haven't. And I understand it's a price conscious segment, so probably that's the main reason, but yeah, that's an opportunity area left untapped. Now, coming to the performance of this car, keep in mind that the Alto K10 is making a return after about a couple of years. It was discontinued a couple of years back, and at that point of time it had a 1-liter engine, similar again in terms of displacement, but this one is a new K-series engine because this car is also based on the hardtech platform that underpins a lot many other new Maruti Suzuki cars. Now, this one is marginally less powerful than the older engine, but it's also marginally more fuel efficient, and that should come as a good news for most buyers in this segment where fuel efficiency matters a lot. In terms of power, well, this gets about 66 horsepower and 89 Newton meters of torque, which is a good number for a car of this size and weight. In terms of the gearbox, you can choose between a 5-speed manual, or you can also go in for the AMT, which Maruti Suzuki calls AGS. It's a 5-speed AMT. Now, coming to the manual one that we're driving right now, well, the car, like you would expect, an Alto with a 1-liter engine is zippy and it's pretty lively to drive. It's not at all lethargic. It doesn't feel slow or boring. So it's I would say it's got a fair bit of spunk, and it feels lively to drive. If you talk about the AGS version, the AMT, well, the AMT works as you would expect an AMT to work. It does the job of giving you the convenience of an automatic at a much lower price, and that's exactly what a car like an Alto K10 would want to achieve, and that is achieved in a very good manner with the AGS. You will find a bit of head nods, a bit of lag between the shifts, but that's pretty much expected because you're getting the technology at a very low price. It cannot do everything that a torque converter automatic would do, but it performs well. And I've said this many times earlier, Maruti Suzuki AMTs are probably the best tuned AMTs in the country. They were the first ones to introduce this technology and have extensively worked on this to improve it. And you can see that when you drive the car. It gives you good fuel efficiency, it is very convenient to drive, and it gives you the option of taking charge and shifting gears manually if you want to or find the need to do so. In terms of overall performance, I think the Alto K10 has become a little more refined than the earlier version, which is a very good thing. Within this segment, I think this is one of the more refined cars, and when you're just driving along at a leisurely pace, or even when you're on the highway at say about 70-80 kilometers per hour, there is not too much of sound intrusion inside the cabin considering the segment standards. So yes, it's refined in terms of if you look at its rivals. I think this is a much more refined car to drive. It is easy to drive. The visibility all around is pretty nice, so you get a good view of you all around. Even the visibility of the back is quite nice. And because of all these things, the Alto K10 continues to be a car that is very easy to drive and should be a great car for learners also. So now let's talk about the ride and handling part of the Alto K10. And well, let's not get into the how fast it can go around the corners and all, because I think that's probably very silly to talk about for the buyer, for the kind of buyer that the Alto K10 caters to. The car is supposed to take people from point A to point B and do that in a comfortable manner without costing a bomb, and that the Alto K10 does very well. It is a stable car to drive. You can get it easily to highway speeds, no problem in that. You can get it to triple digit speeds. Of course, it's not a car that will feel comfortable sitting at 120 all day. No, it's not the car for that. But if you're driving at about anywhere between 80 to 100 kilometers, the car feels very comfortable doing that. Even braking from that speed, I mean sudden panic braking from that speed, the car feels stable doing that. You'll not lose control at those speeds. And even around corners, the car is again quite lively. It's a small car. It's nice in terms of throwing around when you want it to. You can pretty much treat it like a go-kart. But yeah, it's fun to drive. It's not sporty, but because it's so small, it's light, it's agile, it kind of just goes where you want it to. So you can have a fair bit of fun with it, especially with the manual gearbox. Alright, so now that we've told you everything you need to know about the new Maruti Suzuki Alto K10, let's tell you about the main thing, and that is the verdict. Is this car worth buying? Is it worth the money you pay, and is it the best in the segment or not? Well, if you look at the prices, then you can see the prices on the screen right now and across the variants. If you look at the starting price and right up to the top variant, the new Alto K10 has been priced very competitively. The top version might appear to be a bit expensive, but you need to factor in the features it gets. It gives you touchscreen, you also get an AMT and a lot of bells and whistles for this segment. So from that perspective, all variants have been packaged smartly and offer good value for money, which is the most important thing. Of course, with all these new features, the added space because of the longer wheelbase, an improved design, a more refinement, more fuel efficiency, the Alto K10 is, in my opinion right now, the best car in this segment. It is practical, it is comfortable, and it is easy on the pocket.